Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, signed a decree last night in the Western Hemisphere, and it was early morning in Russia, actually in Friday morning, and these were the documents that recognized Kherson and Zaporozhye independence. And we have an article from Sputnik from today stating that during this, they call it ceremony in the Kremlin, that was today at 3 o'clock Moscow time, he speaks in front of the audience and people have made their choice. Putin announced support for recognition of 4 new regions of Russia. Between September 23 and 27, the Donbas republics and areas of Kherson and Zaporozhye freed during the course of Russian military operation in Ukraine held referenda on whether to accede into Russia. Shortly after midnight on Friday, the Russian president signed a pair of decrees recognizing Kherson and Zaporozhye as sovereign and independent. Vladimir Putin has expressed support for the incorporation of the Donbas and the Kherson and Zaporozhye regions into Russia. And I'm quoting, "Dear residents of Russia, residents of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, the people of the Zaporozhye and Kherson regions, you know that referendums have taken place. The results have been calculated. The results are known. People have made their choice, an unequivocal choice," Putin said, speaking at a ceremony in the Kremlin on Friday. Putin expressed confidence that lawmakers gathered in the hall would speedily support formal laws on the new territory's formal accession into Russia. All right, so I'm quoting again, "I am sure that the Federal Assembly will support the constitutional laws on the admission and formation in Russia of 4 new regions, of 4 new subjects of the Russian Federation, because this is the will of millions of people," end quote, Putin said. And I'm quoting again, "This is of course their right, their inalienable right enshrined in Article 1 of the United Nations Charter, where the principle of equality and self-determination of peoples is stated directly," he added. Well, what are you going to do against that? So he signed a decree recognizing Zaporozhye, Kherson regions as independent, as I said, Friday morning. This right is also based on the historical unity, he goes with history, of generations of residents of the 4 regions with Russia, from the period of ancient Rus to Catherine the Great to the Second World War, Putin said. So he makes the claim that those were Russian territories and given to Ukraine after the wars. "We will always remember," quoting, "the heroes of the Russian Spring," the president added, referring to the 2014 pro-Russian unrest in eastern and southern Ukraine in the months following the coup in Kiev in February 2014. "We will always remember those who died for the right in their native tongue to preserve their culture, traditions, their faith, for their right to live," end quote. This, and I'm quoting again, "this includes the fighters of the Donbas, the martyrs of Odessa, Katyn, the victims of the inhumane terrorist attacks carried out by the Kiev regime. This includes volunteers, the militiamen, civilians, women and children, the elderly, Russians, Ukrainian, people from various nationalities, as well as the soldiers engaged in the special military operation," Putin said, asking for a minute of silence to honor the memories of the fallen. Well, what can you do? Russia does this, recognizes those territories, they will be incorporated according to their laws and, next steps they have to follow. And then you will have a bunch of states who will recognize them, and the rest will not. Well, I don't think Russia cares about that, because they don't care about the recognition. But then these countries that do not recognize those annexations or reunification, because it seems like that's how he wants to portray that, and I knew that for a long time, that they will at one point start calling this reunification, because they said coming back to the motherland and all that. Historically, he makes the point that those belong to Russian-speaking tribes, which actually, he can make a point that, we're brothers with the Ukrainians and all that. Okay, well, as of now, if it's about Western foreigners being involved in the, as they sometimes call it, brotherly war, then they have to do what they have to do. That's their state. That's state of mind, and they will pursue it according to them, being pushed in a corner. What would Ukraine do? Continue to do what their masters are ordering them and are planning for them. They will increase their attacks. They will the sponsors, they will and the handlers, they will give them more weapons. They will give them everything. They will give them airplanes. They will give them tanks. They will give them longer range missile systems. And I would be very, very surprised if there is no special operation troops from United States of America on the territory of Ukraine right now, and it's been there for some time. I find that impossible. Almost, I would say 99.9%. And I'm not talking about trainers, because it's it's laughable to think that you have trainers over there who train the Ukrainian troops how to load a rocket into those tubes or whatever, and then push the button, really. Now, I'm not talking about HIMARS, which according to the retired U.S. Army Colonel Douglas McGregor, just the driver needs to be able to complete or to figure out about 1,100 moves, tasks before it's released the whole thing, so or launched the missile. And he said that's impossible that the Ukrainians just learn it in a weekend. It must be foreign contractors. I think there's not only the sponsors are helping plan, or I don't want to say straight, they're planning, but they also are involved actively in a war. That's my assessment of this. So now I think the NATO countries will definitely go in straight in and say, we're going to protect the Ukrainians from you to going and get more territory. I think that would be the little play for us. And they will say, we are entitled, we are just defending, and we are called by the legitimate government of Kiev. And what is Russia going to do? Nothing. What, do you think it's going to bomb those countries? I don't think so. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.